Hey guys, my name is Aboli and today we'll be learning about prostaglandins. In this session, we'll be dealing with the latter part of the chapter. Here are the topics we'll be seeing. We'll see what are leukotrienes, what are prostanoid receptors, leukotriene receptors, and also about platelet activating factor. Starting up with the leukotrienes. So basically, these leukotrienes are straight chain products of arachidonic acid and are produced by very limited tissues. Like for example, LTB4 type are secreted by neutrophils and LTD4, which is a cystenyl leukotriene, is secreted mainly by macrophages. As we can see, leukotrienes play important role in the following. Like for example, BP is raised briefly and then there is a prolonged fall in the same. Now this is seen due to decrease in the cardiac output and increased capillary permeability and not because of vasodilatation as we see usually. In case of smooth muscles, the leukotrienes like LTC4 and LTD4 cause contraction. They are potent bronchoconstrictors and induce spastic contraction of GIT at low concentrations. And in afferent nerves, it sensitizes them, contributes to pain and tenderness of inflammation. Next, we will discuss about the prostanoid receptors. So, prostaglandins have their certain receptors located on cell membrane. They have found about 5 types of these receptors on the basis of the affinity they have for the respective prostaglandin. All of them are G protein coupled and we categorize them into excitatory or inhibitory groups. The excitatory or contractile group produces responses like smooth muscle contraction and platelet aggregation. The inhibitory or relaxant group produces responses like smooth muscle relaxation and inhibition of platelet aggregation. These are the subtypes of prostanoid receptors as shown. First one is DP, which has strongest affinity for PGD2. Its subtypes are DP1 and DP2. Second one is FP, which has highest affinity for PGF2 alpha. It is highly expressed in the female genital tract. Next we have IP. It has highest affinity for PGI2 and expressed in heart, lungs, kidney, etc. Next are EP and TP. EP has 4 subtypes, that is EP1, EP2, EP3 and EP4. And the TP subtype is seen abundantly in platelets, cardiovascular system, immune cells and many other organs. Next we have leukotriene receptors. Separate receptors for LTB4 and for the cystenyl leukotrienes have been defined. Subtypes of cystenyl LT receptors are cis-LT1 and cis-LT2. All the leukotriene receptors are G-coupled protein receptors. The BLT receptors are chemotactic and primarily expressed in leukocytes and spleen. Now, prostaglandins act on these receptors and help in the following, like abortion, augmentation of labor, cervical priming, postpartum hemorrhage, peptic ulcer, glaucoma, to maintain the patency of ductus arteriosus and to avoid platelet damage. Some side effects of the prostaglandins are given below, but their intensity varies with the prostaglandin, the dose, and the route. These are nausea, vomiting, watery diarrhea, uterine cramps, fever, shivering, fall in BP, tachycardia, vaginal bleeding, chest pain, flushing, and unduly forceful uterine contractions. Further, we will now talk about the platelet activating factor. Now, platelet activating factor is a lipid molecule that plays a significant role in various physiological and pathological processes in the human body. It is involved in inflammation, blood clotting, and immune response. It is produced by various cells, including the WBCs, platelets, and endothelial cells. It can act as a signaling molecule, influencing the behavior of nearby cells. Now, the pathways for synthesis and degradation of the platelet activating factor are given here. As we can see, platelet activating factor is synthesized from the precursor phospholipids present in the cell membrane. Up next, we have actions of the platelet activating factor. On platelets, it causes aggregation and release reaction. It also releases TXA2. On blood vessels, it leads to vasodilatation and fall in the BP. For visceral smooth muscles, it causes contraction by direct action or through release of LTC4, TXA2 and prostaglandins. It also stimulates intestinal and uterine smooth muscles. And in case of WBCs, it is a potent chemotactic for neutrophils, eosinophils, and monocytes. Okay, here are some MCQs related to our understanding of the topic. So let's see. Prostanoids exert their effects by binding to specific cell membrane. Which of the following receptor families are involved in prostanoid signaling? The answer is A. G protein coupled receptors. Which type of prostanoid receptor is primarily responsible for mediating bronchoconstriction and vasoconstriction? The answer is A. EP1. Cystenyl leukotrienes are a subclass of leukotrienes. Through which two receptor types do they primarily exert their effects? The answer is C. cis-LT1 and cis-LT2, as we just saw. Which class of biomolecules does platelet activating factor belong to? The answer is P, that is lipids. Next we have excessive platelet activating factor production can lead to. So it leads to platelet aggregation and inflammation. And the last one is leukotriene receptor antagonists, often used in treatment of asthma, work by targeting which specific leukotriene receptors? The answer is B, that is cis-LT1. Thank you so much.